Well, hello, EK Nation. Welcome to another edition of The Hot Seat. I am David Cole, ekartingnews.com. Today we are at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati Kart Plex in Batavia, Ohio. So when you come to the state of down south, as I have today and this weekend, it's good to get some local celebrities and a fixture of our sport for many decades. And we have Randy Kugler sitting across from me here to kind of go into a Q&A and talk about the past, the present, and maybe a little bit about the future as well. Just maybe not Ohio State, Michigan football, right?
Go Bucks!
Well, thanks for joining me, Randy. It's you know, we've had a long relationship, so we've seen a lot of things together. But there's a lot of stuff that you have in your memory bank regarding this sport. Let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about how you got involved in the sport of karting.
My brother was racing something called a track rabbit back in the late 1950s.
Okay.
And that was a primitive go-kart. It had a roll cage, seat belts, the whole deal. And my dad found out about it and said, well, you're not going to do that unless I'm involved, so I know it's safe.
Okay.
So one thing led to another. They're racing a dirt track in our town, and my dad got into this big argument with the guy that was running the dirt track. And so the guy said, you know, if you know so much, George, just build your own track. So he did. And about a year later, at that point it was Linden Valley Raceway was formed in Port Washington, Ohio, then became Kugler Raceway Park, for a brief time Tackett Raceway, and now Atkins Raceway, run by Brandon Atkins and Jamie Wentz. So through that evolution, I got involved, I think around 62 or 63, I raced a quarter midget for about a year. Then I get into karts. And one thing my dad did for me was probably the best thing, because I had you had to look in the archives to find it, but I had some success racing go-karts. But he said to me, before we did a P-pick at our track.
Okay.
And our junior class always had 10 to 15 in it. And he said, before you do the P-pick, you're going to start from the rear. When you win your first race, you can do the P-pick. So about mid-season, I won my first race. But it taught me to get through the pack. It taught me to pass. It taught me to be patient. It taught me not to go in over my head and crash somebody. And it paid off. I started racing nationally in '67 at Riverside, went upside down at Riverside.
Like Riverside, California.
Riverside, California for the ICAP
So a long way
Nationals.
from home.
Long way from home.
Yeah.
And back then, only a few people would go out there because nobody flew back then. I mean, there was airplanes.
Yeah.
but everybody trekked out there. So, but I ran Barnesville that year and got 5th, and then in '69 I won Barnesville. That's my glory. That and I got 3rd at Camden at the Nationals. So that was kind of my peak. I raced some in the early WK years in B Limited, raced against the Ken Burdens and the Junior Neals, and just had a lot of fun racing, but got more involved in starting a family, and so got a little bit away from it, but never too far away, as my dad was president of WK, so administratively, I would help him sometimes. He'd bounce some ideas off of me, and I started serving on the board, and then in '94 he passed away, and that's when I started with really knee deep into WK.
And WK's foundation is here in Ohio. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. They recognize it in North Carolina, but you have to go back to the beginning. I believe in 1971 it was at G&J Kartway, and there was a tech dispute. People from IKF overturned the tech people that were here at the racetrack. So Ohio is a big part of karting's history, really.
Absolutely. Back then it was all IKF.
Yeah.
And true or not, there was a strong belief that IKF didn't care about anybody east of the Mississippi. I'm not so sure that was the case, but the bottom line is the board presence was primarily West Coast. Mm-hmm. It wasn't geographic, and the membership truly wasn't geographic. It was mostly West Coast. So they had the Nationals at Camden, and there's 2 or 3 things. It was like the perfect storm. Mm-hmm. My dad, Dick Wilson, which at the time ran Barnesville, Bob Jeffries, which was a real heavy hitter in the industry. They called him Big J, but he built Lancer karts, and he built a really quick motor. I got together and said, we've had enough. So they had a meeting. So that happened in Camden. So they had a meeting actually in Toledo, Ohio at the old Crescent Raceway. And then they got a few guys together and raised some money. Had another meeting at what was then Kugler Raceway. and this would have been late 1971. And with the help of Ron Withrow, which has passed the last year, they started the World Karting Association. And I always say to people when they ask about what really got WK going, my dad was an integral part. There's no question about it. But there were two people that made WK in the beginning: Dick Wilson and Ben Ray Griffith. Road race, or back then we called it enduros, and sprint racing.
Yeah.
And Dick Wilson said, "I've had enough. Barnesville is going to be WKA." And Barnesville was it. Barnesville would outdraw the Nationals.
Yeah.
The Barnesville Winter Nationals. So it was a WK race, and their first race, they had 450 carts. Imagine that for the first race for an organization.
In the 70s, yeah.
Ben Ray Griffith said, "I've had enough of IKF. WK is going to be my race at Danville," which is now VIR, like 500 entries at Danville. So picture this. The first two events that WK ever holds combined have nearly 1,000 entries. There's memberships, there's entry fee income, there's there's pit pass sales, there's sponsorships jumping on board, and it just kind of grew from there. And within, I would say, maybe 3 to 4 years, we were bigger than IKF, and it kind of grew from there.
So you said not all tracks on the eastern side of half were with IKF. What did they do before WK?
Just their own thing.
So it was kind of a wild west.
Well, it was. I mean, I shouldn't really say there wasn't any, because Ohio had a presence. We were an IKF track in Port Washington. Fremont, I think, was an IKF track. Cameron was an IKF track.
There were a lot of, yes, even Goodwood.
New York was solid. Goodwood
was
in Canada,
IKF as
right?
well. Yeah.
There was a few in the South, but there was a lot of just doing their own thing. Yeah, and so I think at the time, WK brought structure and relevancy to a lot of those tracks that needed someone to care about them. And they were convinced IKF didn't care about them, and WK did. And my dad made a point of that. In his life, he made sure that if you ever met my dad, you would leave there going, "You know what, George, listen to me. I think he really cares." And I'm not saying he didn't, but he had that way about him that he made sure you knew that he was listening to what you were saying. He'd try to do something about it. And that's kind of the way WK grew, is we do care about you. We care about the tracks. And something that, not to get off on a tangent, but really bothers me today. I mean, this weekend is unbelievable. The USPKS is just huge, fantastic. But never, ever, ever can we forget about what starts all this.
Right.
It's the Pro-Am series here at Cincinnati. It's the OVKA. It's KRA in Newcastle. And I just hope that there is always enough focus from the sponsors and really from some type of a national structure to say, we do care about those clubs and those tracks, and we need to do whatever we can to make sure they stay headed in the right direction.
And that's really where WK grew, was the grassroots. It was, they looked after the racetracks, and that's big even now today, is people want to be taken care of in a polite and manner way, and not just looked at as an income for something.
Right.
It seems like it was more rule structure, would you say, back then, like in the 70s? It was more about having standardized rule structure, where insurance part of it was a big part of WK, because they helped insure racetracks and made sure things were safe. Because when you go from the 70s to 80s and the 80s to 90s, there's a lot of litigations going on and things like that. So it seemed like WK was a big part of making sure tracks did things safely and still in that polite manner way.
Yes, the WK rule book became the baseline for class structure, rule structure, tech, race procedures throughout, I would say, easily the eastern half of the United States and sometimes west of the Mississippi.
And still kind of the backbone of some of the rule structures we still have today.
I think a lot of what you see today in rule structure is a byproduct of that WK rule book from back in the day, and all they've done is taken it and expanded on it and made kind of a hybrid to fit their own situation. We actually had I'll never forget it, and I'm not going to break any confidentiality rules. I'll keep it general. But we had a situation back, probably in the 90s, where there was a track using our rule book. And this happened a lot. And it made us nervous, not because we were better than them, but if you're going to use our rule book, support the organization. Don't just use our rule book. Well, they weren't doing that. So something happened, and there was a part failure. And the part failure was a rule that was in the WK rule book, and to make a long story short, they said, "Hey, you can use this part." And so there was a serious injury, and we got sued. I said, "Wait a second. that wasn't a WK track. Well, you're the standard. Well, where does it say we're the standard? So we won the litigation, but it kind of drove us more and more to, and sometimes we really got a lot of grief for it, is, with all due respect, if you're going to use our rule book, support the organization, become a WK master track, follow our insurance guidelines, use our insurance passes, and let's all be one big happy family where we support each other. And then you've got full access to us for anything you need, whether it's question on rules, whether you need one of our officials to come to a big event, fine, no problem, we'll do that. And to a large degree, we got that done. But it was always a case where somebody would say, oh yeah, we use your rules. Do you really? So you bought our rule book? Okay, great.
That was $40.
Yeah, not even that. Back then it was 10, I think.
Probably.
We pause this show for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and a Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the junior, senior, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the 2023 season include the Ignite Majors, which begins with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week as part of both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, which just finished up a record-setting season in 2022. Local club programs have also been established in other states all across the country, from Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast fun and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite Kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and out onto the track in 2023. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. We now join the show already in progress.
So what do you think was the biggest change from, say, the 80s, 90s to maybe today? I mean, we're talking 30, 40 years, so there's a lot of stuff that's happened. What do you think are kind of some of the biggest changes that we've seen happen from that time to now?
You know, some people will tell you Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
They'll say the Jeff Gordon syndrome took hold, and he was, and there was a lot of cases like this, Tony Stewart kind of like this, but you know, the Jeff Gordon syndrome is he came through the ranks so quickly and so young. And I think he might have raced go-karts a little bit. He spent a lot of time in quarter midgets, but he was in a midget racing Winchester on Thursday Night Thunder like at 14 or something, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we all know what happened to Jeff Gordon. He's one of the greatest drivers of all time in NASCAR. So a lot of people, and I kind of think that a little bit, is people think, geez, you know what? I think my kid, he's got some talent. He could be the next Jeff Gordon.
So almost like the Max Verstappen type scenario. If to bring it to
there's only
today's-
one Jeff Gordon, there's only one Max Verstappen, and everybody here this weekend. And there's some great kids, some great families, and some really good drivers.
Right.
But the bottom line is it isn't just about talent. It's about creating the opportunities, having the right doors open, saying the right things at the right time. Those things all have to fall into place, and a little bit of patience. It's not just going to happen, and a lot of work. And without that, you enjoy karting, because that may be the only thing you do, or you're going to burn out doing something else.
That's one thing I've noticed, because we're having drivers start so young, is we're starting to see families burn out before they even get to be juniors sometimes. And that's kind of the part I struggle with is that time of karting should be more about fun than anything. And then once you get to be a junior, that's when you should either take it serious or look at it as this is either going to be a lifestyle or hobby activity. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that enough. But it's hard to say to a parent, hey, your kid's not Jeff Gordon, your kid's not Max Verstappen, let's just have fun and see where it goes. Because, you see it in all other sports. You see it in baseball, you see it in football, you see it in basketball. Parents kind of overdrive everything or overdo it with what they do, and then the kid kind of just falls out of love with it.
And I think maybe what people need to realize, what parents need to realize is Ryan Norberg isn't a failure because he's still in karting. He's a dude.
Yeah.
Ryan Norberg can get it done, and I would stick anybody in motor racing in that kart next to Ryan Norberg, and they'll see his rear bumper most of the race.
So that's a good name to bring up. Where would you kind of rank him among karting drivers for the entire span of the sport here in the United States? Because you look at the success that he's had, it's numerous, and it's not like he's doing against nobodies or has-beens. He's doing against strong drivers year after year after year. Where do you think he ranks among because you look at, okay, that's a good example. Who would you put as a top 3 ever in the sport of karting in the United States?
And I hope to start it again after I retire, but I did a podcast for about a year.
Right.
And I had Michael McDowell on.
Right.
Awesome podcast.
Yeah.
Talked to him right after he did won the Daytona 500. Had Lake Speed on.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of karting personalities.
Yeah.
There's
personalities and then there's drivers.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of asking the driver side of things.
But I'm getting to your
and Lake
answer. I'm
Speed
getting to
is
the
one
point.
of them. Yeah.
But I had Lynn Haddock on.
Yeah.
Of all the names I've mentioned, 2-1, who do you think had the most views? I'll answer it for you, Lynn Haddock.
It's probably Lynn Haddock, yeah.
So, without question, total package, Lynn Haddock.
Yeah.
Knowledge, success, I think to some degree even the personality. Lynn is Lynn. When I watch the shifter kart races in USPKS and I watch Ryan, I'm not impressed when he wins by a half a straightaway. I'm impressed when he gets knocked off the track and comes back and wins by a half a straightaway. That's patience, and not everybody has that. So I would rate him right up there. In modern day, I think you got to look at Ryan Norberg as one of the best.
Yeah, with probably over the last 10 years, probably among the best.
Right.
I think Brandon Jarzakrak is there as well. You look at the shifter ranks. I mean, you got Danny Formal, you got AJ Myers, Jake French has been really well, Billy Musgrave. So there's a lot of great talent that we've had.
And Marion Kramers gives Ryan a really good run at the USPKS. I mean, USPKS has been able to bring these drivers over. I'm just amazed. But you asked for 3, so I'll give you 3.
So Lynn Haddock,
and I'm going to put Ryan Norberg in there.
Okay.
And Kyle Atkins.
Atkins is a great Ohio story again, and then Brandon, his son here, is racing.
And Brandon's racing, and they have the racetrack, our old racetrack.
Yep.
Kyle Atkins was a racer's racer.
Yeah.
He was, they asked me to speak at his memorial at the racetrack. And I said, and this was like a week after Kyle had died, and what I said was, karting lost its Dale Earnhardt. And that was Kyle.
Yeah.
Lynn, and I'm not saying Kyle wasn't smooth. Listen, Kyle could blow by you and you would be off the track and he never touched you. You were just intimidated. My favorite Kyle Atkins story was at South Bend. In the Manufacturers Cup in the early days, we pea-picked. And you can imagine 30 carts on a track and you pea-pick, right? And invariably, whoever started on the pole, it was their first race. It's like all dad thinks they can bring them and mom and dad, no, God, what are you doing? It was the first race. But anyway, so if you've been to South Bend, you make a left-hander, then you wind through the trees up the hill.
Yep.
So I'm watching, and I always like to watch Kyle, and Kyle was starting mid-pack because Kyle could work his way through the pack and never touch anybody, I swear. He was that good. So he's coming up through there, and he gets up beside a guy, and as it's winding through, the guy goes straight and runs him out of racetrack, puts Kyle off, and really knocks him out. Oh, geez, how's Kyle going to handle this? So I go over by the scales because I knew Kyle pretty well. We were good friends. See, I want to make sure Kyle isn't doing stupid. I didn't think he would because I never really saw him lose his temper. So he comes off the track on the trailer, and the kid that ran him off is at the scales. So I'm watching about 20 feet away, and Kyle's getting off the trailer. They're getting his cart off, and the kid comes up, and he's shaking. He's, oh, my gosh, Kyle, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was you. I'm so sorry. And Kyle looks at him, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, he's going to punch him? He goes, that's okay. We'll race again.
Yeah.
I guarantee you the kid, if Kyle was within 3 cart lengths of him, he would move over and let Kyle by. But that was Kyle Atkins. He did his talking on the racetrack.
An intimidator. So that's essentially what he was.
So,
I mean, he didn't have to throw punches. He just had to look at you and give you that one
He did
word.
his talking on the track.
Yeah.
So I would say in the past, back in the day, so to speak, Kyle and Lynn, and I'm really impressed with Ryan Norberg.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Ryan does that as well, too. Doesn't push people out of the way. It works through. Brandon Jarscrack does that a lot too.
Yes,
but
I would agree.
I think obviously Norberg has a little bit more success overall when you look at it. But there's so many drivers.
Yeah.
I think in our sport today. I think that's kind of changed. I think the talent level has a little bit of an increase.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, in the 90s, 2000s, and a decade ago, there were the Dismores, there were the Corey Reeves and the Chuck Tates and the Kevin Nelsons and all those type of drivers who they were good no matter where they went. The one thing I think that's different from that type of generation, the generation now, and the Kyle Atkins and the Lake Speeds and the Lynn Haddocks is those old guys used to drive anything.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't have today.
Right.
And we put it out there to Joe Turney, who's here racing in the U.S., is would you run a laydown? And he's looked at that and he said, heck no. And
those guys are crazy.
Exactly. but you even look at it now with street racing, the Rock Island Grand Prix next weekend, and there's just not that mentality of laying it all on the line for the wild and craziness that is street racing. Do you think that's part of the way kids are brought up today? Do you think that's parents being too overprotective, or what would you put it on?
Well, and I want to mention another driver too, especially in the shifters, AJ Myers.
Yeah.
AJ's tough, and I've seen him do that as much as Ryan is early in the race. They get ran off the track, and their race isn't lost. They work their way back and show patience and perseverance. But I think it's so specialized now. There's so much time spent, and some of these guys run, USPKS, SCUSA, Stars. I mean, there's not time for a road race. There's not time to run Rock Island because they're so focused on the next high-end event. That's a lot. You could look at the Indy 500 in Daytona. Donnie Allison used to run the Indy 500. Cale Yarborough ran the Indy 500. Johnny Rutherford back in the day ran Daytona.
AJ Foyt ran
AJ
both,
Foyt, Mario Andretti. that crossover isn't there anymore because they're so focused, so specialized.
Yeah.
Sponsor driven, car owners. We'll pay you, but don't be screwing around. That's what it surprises me with some of these NASCAR drivers that do the sprint car stuff. It's like Alex Bowman, it may have cost him a chance in the chase because of his injury.
Exactly. That's kind of the give and take that our sport kind of is, because you do have to, and no different than baseball and basketball and hockey, and you have to be specialized. There's not a lot of those 3 sport athletes anymore.
Right.
So karting, you can almost have to be, I'm a sprint racer or I'm a road racer.
I think
it is nice to see sprint racers do go road racing, because they find out, oh, this is easy. And it's not, one, it's not hard on the body, and 2, they have a little bit more sense of what kart is going to be able to do, even though it's a little bit more higher speed.
Right. It's a different discipline. I don't know if it's easy, but it's a different discipline.
Right.
And you got to overcome the idea that, how fast am I going again? Where's that wall? Wait a minute.
we just did a column with Jonathan Ocasius. He did his first road race in a shifter at Mid-Ohio, and he goes, I had to think about it multiple times. I went 115 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway. And here I think maybe 80 miles an hour, if they're even at that. So you're looking at 35 more miles per hour. That's more than school zone limit.
Right.
We pause this show for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network.
You want the best, you just gotta roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing kart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Prix chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Prix, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. We now join the show already in progress.
Back in the day, because I have a lot of back in the day stories, but back in the day there was a series called the Formula 200.
Yes. Oh, yes. We've done stories on that.
Stock. They raced at Long Beach, and we brought them to the Cleveland Grand Prix and raced them. We actually ran with a Trans Am race at Brainerd one time.
Okay.
Scott Pruitt, Jeff Nelson, Len Haddock. But I ran the Formula 200 at Rockingham right before the NASCAR race on the oval. Had no business being in the kart, but come on, how hard can it be, right?
It's Rockingham.
So we had trouble with the gearing, and we found out we were way off on the gearing, so we just went 180 degrees on the gearing. I go out in my warm-up, and my guys tell me when I come in that your warm-up was faster than you ran all week. But I'm out there racing, there's about 20 karts, and I'm running about 8th. And I'm drafting with a guy. And we're going down the backstretch, and we're running 115, 120, something like that. And it's all good. They say things move slowly, and I'm right behind him. It's all good. So we're entering the third turn. I start to come up to the inside of him, and he comes down on me. And my brain said, hit the brakes. So I did. As soon as I hit the brakes, the back end started to kick out of me. And I got out the brakes, and I recovered. And I finished the race, and I come in. I said, I'm never going to do that again, because this is not for me.
Yeah, it's a different.
It's
a different discipline.
Yeah.
It's almost like skydiving. Like people will do it, people won't. Road racing, sprint or street racing, people will do it, people won't.
Yep.
And it's tough trying to get people to try and do that, but I guess it's their nature. When
you think about a Randy Folks, I admire that guy, and Rick and that whole group. They go out there and they don't even blink. There's a YouTube video of Randy and Rick out there with the twin engine running like 150 at Daytona. Right. Oh my gosh, but to them it's like, it's all good.
It's all good. It's a different type of crazy. Yeah. Is the way I like to say that.
Right.
So let's get back to kind of where we're at here today or this time of year. What do you think of where the sport is going right now? It seems like there was a big boom after COVID. We had a lot of people coming out to the sport. We have Briggs and Stratton, the grassroots level there. Do you think the sport's at a good level right now in terms of both industry wise and in terms of numbers across the board?
That's a tough question. I look at the USPKS, and I was with Mark on the ground floor the first 3 or 4 years I was his announcer, and really saw it grow. And I'm just so impressed with the team he's put together and the events he has. To me, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the high-end national series, this is as good as it gets this weekend with the USPKS. On a more local concern, one of the things I feel like I really regretted with WK that I didn't do more of is focus on the grassroots, the clubs, and to use the analogy of a tree, it grows from a root, or from a seed and a root. USPKS should grow from club racers that are doing really well and have the ability to move up. For someone to come into karting and start racing USPKS or SCUSA or Stars, there's a really good chance they're going to burn out after about 3 races and never race a go-kart again. Those people need to be channeled to, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, where you walk in the front door of the country club, and it is a country club atmosphere. You walk in, it's a go-kart shop, and there's somebody there who will sit down with you and talk to you about karting and get you in at the ground level. OVK is a tremendous club. They've been around forever. They helped start the WKA. KRA in Newcastle, Yeah. I think the part that I worry about is these clubs are successful in spite of it all. And I shouldn't say they're not getting help, because I think industry-wide they're getting support at their banquets and so on. But and there's no hidden message here. But I'm telling you, there needs to be a national structure, and there was at one time. Okay,
an umbrella.
An umbrella. There needs to be.
Falls under.
We prided ourselves. I would spend weeks going out and just visiting tracks,
right,
and introducing myself, telling them what we do, and sometimes they said, "Yeah, we're good." Sometimes they said, "Man, sign me up. Let's do it."
Yep.
And then we would show them some love. And that's missing right now. And I think that's what's really needed, you know, and you know, there'll still be the really strong groups like the KRAs and the OBKs, they'll survive, but the upstarts, they need help. They need some guidance. They need a Mike Adams or a Gary Gregg at OBK or a Sean Baylor to sit down and say, here's what we did, and it's successful. Well, I thought about doing this. Well, you can try it, but I tried it and I failed miserably. Don't do that. They need some guidance. They need somebody that they can go to say, we really want to get this going. What can we do to make it work?
Do you think economics has a lot to do with it as well? Because for a long time, the West Coast was the leader in karting. I mean, and now we're seeing a decline down out there.
Yeah.
Is it due to the lack of premier facilities like we have here on the eastern half of the country, or do you think it's an economics side of things? Because the cost of living out there is enormous compared to over here on the eastern half of the country. I'm not counting New York City or Miami, but you know there's obviously outliers with that. But just living anywhere in California is a tough task. Arizona and is probably a little bit better, and then you go up the Pacific Northwest, you see regional programs and tracks actually having good numbers up that way. But it seems like California is a bit of a struggle. Do you think that's more economic side of things, or do you think does it have to do with not having that foundation of a strong racetrack?
Well, I think you need that. I think you need that foundation, but
because there are tracks out there, it just seems like they're missing something.
But they just lost Fontana a few months
right.
ago. That was a
really big part of it.
Yeah,
too, yeah.
But I think and I see California obviously from a distance, but they're constantly fighting gas engines out there.
Yeah.
Right. That alone. You could see electric go-kart racing out there one day. Probably.
Well, you see it now already at the K1 circuit. That's all they have right now, and that's all they've led on the racetrack.
So that's probably part of the problem.
So a little more political side of things.
I think so.
Okay.
The karting as we know it is a hard sell out there because there's so many obstacles.
Yeah.
We're out here, we're still, let's go racing.
Yeah.
Here's your fuel can, here's, whatever, and let's go. Out there, it's like, well, what county are you in again,
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the biggest part of it. You still have RLV has been a staple for the sport. They're still out there and going strong. Mm-hmm. So there's industry support out there. And I want to say Santa Maria is still going out there, I believe.
Santa Maria is still going. There's Buttonwillow, Willow Springs. There's still all the racetracks out there.
Adams, I think, is still going.
Adams is still going.
Yeah.
We just had the California Pro Kart Challenge there last weekend. So, but like you said, it just seems like there's not a lot of people in California wanting to go racing.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of an economic side of things because, let's face it, karting today is a lot more expensive than what it used to be, at least nationally. But maybe local stuff is a little bit similar, but still you're putting new tires on, you're buying new chains. So I think it's a little bit more expensive, but you still have to have that budget of monetary money to be able to spend for it. And I think that's kind of the biggest problem we have in California right now. Because again, like we said, we have the tracks. It's just, as I was wondering about your take on that, because you still have to have that foundation, and there's tracks there. I just don't know if they don't have the right, maybe not even the right people running it, or getting people involved.
But as you said, the cost of living out there is insane. I have a stepson that lives in San Diego, and I just look at, and they've got a nice little condo, but it's like, I don't know, $2,000 a month or something, right? You could, and relative to the median income out there, it's out of balance versus what we have out here. So when you do the math, it's like, who can afford to go go-kart racing when you're trying to just survive? So that has to have something to do with it, I would think.
So now we talk past, present. Let's talk a little bit about the future. What do you think are kind of key elements with our sport that you think we need to address, or is going to maybe something that's going to happen or change within the sport that we should be aware of? Do you think because you've seen kind of almost all of it. We've gone from paper scoring to electronic scoring. You've spanned a lot of different things throughout the sport.
I think back, the Dick Wilsons and the George Kuglers, if they could just come to one race, they would go, what just happened, right? Where's the Daytona? They used to run 30 karts on the quarter-mile dirt track at Daytona and hand score it and get it right. And I finally discovered that they really didn't get it right. It's just who could argue, right? Because, I guess that's what it was. I think, social media, e-karting news, Kart Chaser. It's growth. In order to grow, you have to maintain. And so you've got to continue to get the word out, and you've got to hit the right spots to get new karters. And I think sometimes we miss telling the area, hey, we got a big race coming to town. You should go out and watch.
It's an example. I should have gotten with Sean before this weekend and said, hey, have you contacted any local news outlets? Because we're right outside Cincinnati, and it's a big metro area. I mean, it has the Bengals, it has the Cincinnati Reds, and they love sports.
And there's a college team an hour and a half north of here.
Okay.
Never
heard
State.
Is it Miami of Ohio?
Well, and
but I think that's one of the struggles we have in our sport is the racetracks themselves don't booster what they do enough to the local media.
There's so much work having this race this weekend that you kind of take promotion, publicity,
and you don't even think about it.
PR, and you set it aside because I got to get the parking set up. And Sean's done a tremendous job.
It's amazing.
Right.
We're not picking on Sean. We're talking about the whole sport as a whole. Yeah.
So in the back of my mind has always been, when you have a high-end race like this, if you could just get a local charity, whether it's military-driven, Boy Scouts, or something for the fallen victims of veterans, or anything, where you can come in and get ahead of it, come in and say, you know what, we're going to donate X amount of dollars per entry, or X amount of dollars, or 50 cents a pit pass, whatever it is, to your foundation. But we want you to tell the world we're coming to town. And do that enough ahead of time, and then you've got a friend at the factory, so to speak. You've got someone in the area saying, no, these guys are pretty cool. They're supporting us. We're going to be a part of this event. You should come out and see it. Because one, it means so much more when you've got people out here watching. So you're not just watching each other, but there's actual race fans out here watching
Spectators.
us. Spectators.
Like people who have either never seen karting or know racing, but they've never been around.
Exactly. And then you've got the pro shop open downstairs with Sean and his team down there, and the people are walking in. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you want to know about karting? Here's a little brochure. Why don't you come by Tuesday and we'll talk about it. 3 o'clock, good for you. And next thing you know, they've got a new karter. That's what's missing, and we were guilty of it. When we had a manufacturer's cup, in the back of my mind, we should tell the local news, we should do this, we should do that. We were so caught up in having the event.
Well, so you've had a world championship as well, 1986, Jacksonville. Was media a thought in that?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So do you think maybe because it was at a different level, or do you think because FIA was or CIK and was involved?
Well, anytime you can throw the words world championship around, it drew attention. But sadly, there was a dispute at that race.
So
media came in and saw that.
That's a whole nother podcast.
We used to get the local TV station down at Charlotte, but it wasn't the best venue to bring spectators in. I think when you have something that's open Monday through Friday, like here at Cincinnati.
Yeah, or Newcastle. You have the whole building with restaurant and grandstands to sit right there. You don't even have to be near the paddock, so you don't have to buy a pit pass.
Right. So you get them in, they make contact with Mike or somebody in his shop. You know what? Come by next Tuesday and we'll get you a ride in a cart. And they get the bug, and next thing you know, they're buying a used chassis and a 206, and they're out racing a KRA the next week. Yep. That's what's needed. And it doesn't exist now. It's not a complaint to the promoters because they're so busy making this happen.
Yeah.
Because this is 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag every time you have one.
Every time.
Because there's so much going on, and they do it. But sadly, promotion, local non-karting promotion, is set aside to make sure everything else comes into place.
And that's where I think an umbrella would help that, because if you have somebody looking out after that, like saying, hey, have you guys done this? Have you done that? Almost like a checklist of hosting a premier karting event. Hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Things need to be checked off before this event's going to even happen.
Right.
And I do that. I have some ideas, and we can talk off air on that, but...
We pause this show for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field in the GT14 frame, with the SS31 a consistent contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has arrive and drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes utilizing the GFC RR5 cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with 28 years racing at the highest levels in the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC. GFC, live your passion. Thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. We now join the show already in progress.
Is there anything else? Well, since I talked about the World Championship, what is probably your favorite? And it doesn't have to be just as a WK president or trustee. It could just be about the sport as a whole. What do you think, or even when you were racing yourself, what do you think is the one favorite memory that you've had over these decades? I mean,
Oh, wow.
I mean, I know I have a couple in mind that I think of all the time. Like, but you've spanned a number of decades. Not saying you're really old, but
But I'm getting there.
you're getting there.
I'm older than you.
Exactly. You are older than me, and like, again, the World Championship. Like, I would have loved to have been there in 1986, or even the ones in Charlotte in the 90s. Like, Rob tells me all about those. Yeah. Or the Briggs 300 doing the oval races there, or even Daytona when you had 1,500 entries down there for the dirt stuff. Like, but there's got to be that one thing that is just if you could take it to the afterlife, and that would be the one memory that you have. What would it be?
Boy, that's really hard.
It's a heavy question. I know that.
Well, did I mention I won Barnesville in
Yes.
1969? And from a racing memory, that's it, man. I won Barnesville, and I was third at the Nationals in Camden. But as the president of WKA, the relationships we had with Daytona and Charlotte were second to none. 2,000 plus entries at the stadium. We had one year we had over 4,000 entries between the sprint race, the road race, and the stadium. The North American Karting Championships, actually for a couple years we had the Briggs & Stratton 300 on the quarter-mile oval,
Right.
the sprint race, which was some American classes in the World Championship classes. The dirt track was running races, and we had a road race. So we had 4 events going on all at the same time. My team, and honestly, I didn't do anything but walk around to make sure everybody
Shook hands.
Hey, you're doing a good
Yep.
job, and kept going because everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. So I was so proud because, and I'm not saying I was a great leader, but
putting a team together.
Putting a team together.
And so almost the memories of working with all those, especially Marie is one of them. I know.
God, yeah.
I don't want to, but Marie was, you have anchors, Sissy for a long time as well too.
And I tried to tell my staff because they would work for me, but there would be so many people working under them at these events. You don't have to be in the limelight to consider yourself a success. When you build a team and that team is successful, you're successful. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but I will tell you that, we were 10,000 plus in membership at one time. I mean, I took so much pride in that. And, things got sideways towards the end with tire rules and a lot of things. And it was time for me to leave because it wasn't good for WK for me to be there. But I will tell you that in its prime when I was there, that was my proudest moment. When we could hold events like that and my team came through every time.
What do you think was one of the biggest hurdles hosting an event like that?
Just
logistics of everything, trash.
I will tell you that anybody that says you can overcome the language barrier, unless you're like trilingual, that's a lie.
That's true.
So the biggest challenge when we had the North American Karting Championships is to make sure someone was there to understand what they wanted and what I should say what they needed and that we delivered. And there was also some ill feelings about, are we catering more to the international than we are to the American? And I would always say, you know what? Honestly, the biggest event of the weekend is the Briggs & Stratton 300, and that's all American. Yeah. And a lot of the Europeans, the teams and the drivers would come over and watch the Briggs & Stratton 300. The front stretch grandstands, we would have a couple thousand people.
Yeah.
And it gave a chance for the oval racers in the South and a lot of them in the North to come in and really shine in front of a big crowd. So all that stuff was so cool. It was a lot of work, but it was cool.
Yeah, and I noticed that today because a lot of the mechanics here, international speaking, a lot of different languages here. I think that's maybe one step that USPKS could do is almost have a translator or somebody who's able to speak Portuguese, Spanish, because Rick Jump, God love him, but if you're not if you don't love NASCAR, it's very hard to understand them sometimes, right?
Hey, Rick, this is David talking, just so you know. I didn't say that, buddy.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right.
But it seems like that because again, we have a lot of international people here in the people from all different countries or who have immigrated here and are in the sport as well too. So a lot of the teams, you look at Rollison, like they have somebody they have the ability to speak 4 different languages because of the people they have under their tent.
Right.
So you say, okay, I have a Portuguese translator, I have a Spanish translator, I have a French translator, and you're good to go.
You want to make your customers feel comfortable, and if you can have someone translate, they feel like they at least have someone they can communicate with. And when you're using hand signs and nodding and smiling, you're not really communicating. You're trying, but
it's tough. So we'll note that on something that Mark can add to the program.
Translators,
we've talked for about 40 minutes. I think we've covered past, present, a little bit of the future and what we think we need to see or what you'd like to see happen. I guess that's it, Randy. I mean, I don't think it was too bad of an interview.
Not at all. I love talking about this stuff, Dave, and I don't know if you remember when we first met, but it was on a stage at Windsor, you and your dad. It was a Stars of Karting race. Graham Rahal was racing the shifter carts. And I started talking to you and your dad, and that's the first time I met you. And that had to be back in the late 90s.
2003 actually.
Oh, was it 2003? Was it 2003?
It seems like forever, but it's only been 20 years. It's been 20 years, and because I still have the Bobby Rahal photo, because again, he's my favorite IndyCar driver. So I remember my dad brought his film camera. And he got a picture with Bobby, and I remember I think Graham actually went in the hay bales.
He did and tore it up.
And Bobby, there with Stars of Karting program, was actually tossing hay bales and helping the track staff.
On the track, not just Graham's car, but pulling carts out on the track, screaming at the officials, let these kids race, let's get back out there. Yeah, there was a time when he was all in with karting, and that's, of course, part of it was getting Graham through the ranks, but when he was there, he was there.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 20 years.
I know, right?
Seems like it's so far along, but again, thank you, Randy, for joining us. Always great to talk to you.
That's always a pleasure, David.
Yeah, we have great conversations, and we'll enjoy each other's texts throughout the season.
Yes, we will.
As Go Blue tries to go for a third straight against Ohio State.
That team up north.
That team up north. All right, Go Blue. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, David.